Violet Harlow gazed at the shining skyscraper that contained Thorn Industries, her heart racing in her chest. 8 years have passed. It had been 8 long years since she had last walked through this part of Manhattan. She smoothed the lapel of her tailored navy suit and glanced at her reflection in her compact mirror. At 30, she hardly recognized the person she had become. The once naive art student, forever marked by paint-stained fingers, had vanished. A woman with sharp, assessing eyes and a smile that seemed to linger just out of reach took her place. "Mom, are we running behind schedule?" The voice next to her drew her back to the present moment. Archer, her 7-year-old son, gazed up at her with those striking blue eyes that mirrored his father's. "Absolutely not, dear. We are perfectly punctual." Violet gently wove her fingers through Archer's sandy blonde locks. "Do you recall what I shared with you? This meeting holds significant importance for Mommy's new position." At Thorn Industries, Archer articulated. "Did you work before I was born?" "Indeed," Violet replied, her throat tightening. What she had kept from him was that Thorn Industries was owned by his father. A father unaware of his own existence. "Are you prepared?" Archer nodded, and Violet gently clasped his small hand as they stepped through the revolving doors. The lobby mirrored her memories perfectly, a striking blend of glass and steel, exuding a chilling elegance. Memories surged through her, overwhelming and relentless. She had initially stepped through these doors as a 22-year-old art consultant, brought on to curate the company's vast art collection. It was in this very place that she had first encountered Dexter Thorne, the 31-year-old CEO who had taken over the company from his father. "How can I assist you today?" The receptionist's voice pulled Violet sharply from her reverie. "Absolutely." Violet Harlow addressed to Mr. Richmond. "I have a scheduled meeting at 10 o'clock. The receptionist's fingers glided over her keyboard with grace. "Indeed, Ms. Harlow. Mr. Richmond is looking forward to your arrival. 42nd floor." Violet gave a slight nod. "Thanks a lot." As they ascended in the elevator, Archer leaned his face against the glass, observing the city diminish below them. Violet shut her eyes, allowing herself to drift back to the moment she first encountered Dexter. The setting was an art auction. She was there to place a bid on a piece for a client when she noticed him from across the room, tall and impeccably dressed, exuding a presence that effortlessly commanded attention. After he had outbid her client for a Rothko piece, she approached him, resolute in her intention to negotiate. "$60 million for a Rothko," she declared, blocking his way. "You have paid at least $15 million more than necessary." He gazed at her with those striking blue eyes, initially filled with surprise and then shifting to amusement. "Indeed you are. Violet Harlow, advisor for Matthews Gallery. Dexter Thorne." He reached out his hand, and as she grasped it, an undeniable spark surged between them. "I'd gladly pay twice as much for the perfect piece." 3 weeks later, he had brought her on board to curate for Thorn Industries. Half a year later, they found themselves intertwined. A year later, they exchanged vows in an opulent ceremony that captured the attention of every prominent society publication. The elevator chimed, snapping Violet back to reality. As they emerged onto the executive floor, Violet braced herself for what lay ahead. It had been 8 long years since she last laid eyes on Dexter, not since that fateful rainy night when everything unraveled. "Miss Harlow?" A man in his mid-40s walked toward them, his hand reaching out. "I am Elliot Richmond, the head of acquisitions. I appreciate your presence here today." "I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Richmond," Violet said as she shook his hand. "This is my son, Archer." "It was a pleasure to meet you, young man," Elliot remarked, shaking Archer's hand with an over-the-top formality that brought a smile to the boy's face. "I've made arrangements for Archer to be in our lounge area. Lisa from HR will accompany him. We have an array of books, a tablet loaded with games, and an abundance of snacks." Violet paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. "That's quite considerate, however." "It's all right, Mom," Archer reassured. "I brought my book on the wonders of space." Violet crouched to meet Archer's gaze. "I won't take much time. Please be kind to Lisa, all right?" Archer nodded, and Violet observed as a warm, inviting woman guided him to a cozy seating area that was visible through a glass partition. "Your son appears to be quite well adjusted," Elliot remarked as they made their way to the conference room. "Indeed, he is," Violet responded. "For quite some time now, it's only been the two of us. Raising a child alone presents its challenges." Elliot's voice carried a tone of understanding. "My sister is managing it with twins. I'm not sure how she pulls it off." Violet stated matter-of-factly that one does what is necessary for their children. Upon arriving at the conference room, Elliot graciously held the door open for her. Violet inhaled deeply and crossed the threshold. 5 executives gathered around the table, yet her gaze was instantly drawn to the man at the head, Dexter Thorne. He appeared more mature with strands of silver at his temples, yet remained otherwise the same. Still strikingly attractive, still radiating that same understated strength. For an instant, their gazes locked, and she found no hint of familiarity in his eyes. Gradually, his demeanor shifted from courteous curiosity to sheer astonishment. "This is Violet Harlow," Elliot mentioned. "The marketing consultant I mentioned to you. Her contributions to Jensen Corbin have been truly exceptional. What is this all about?" Dexter's voice sliced through the room with precision. "What type of game are you engaging in?" Elliot stared, bewildered. "I apologize, but I'm having difficulty grasping what you mean." "It's okay, Elliot," Violet said with a steady voice, even as her heart raced. "I have previously encountered Mr. Thorne. Have we crossed paths before?" Dexter rose, his palms pressed firmly against the table. "Violet was my beloved partner." The atmosphere grew still. Elliot stared at them, his mouth hanging open in disbelief. "I truly had no idea. Your surname?" "After the divorce, I reverted to my maiden name," Violet explained, her gaze fixed intently on Dexter. "Everyone out," Dexter murmured softly. When there was no response, he elevated his tone. At this moment, the executives hurriedly rose, collecting their tablets and documents before making their way out of the room. Elliot lingered at the threshold, casting a remorseful glance at Violet before gently shutting the door behind him. For an extended period, Dexter and Violet simply gazed at one another. After 8 long years, he finally spoke, his tone unexpectedly gentle. "After 8 years of silence, you dare to enter my company with deceitful intentions?" "I didn't lie about anything," Violet responded. "Elliot reached out to me after reviewing my portfolio. It wasn't until after our first meeting that I realized he was part of your team." "So, you didn't consider bringing it up at that time? Would you have chosen me if you were aware?" Dexter's laugh was grating. "Absolutely not. Thus, your answer is clear." Violet placed her portfolio on the table. "In addition, my work is a testament to my abilities." The Jensen campaign saw a remarkable 22% growth in their market share. "I don't care if you brought the dead back to life," Dexter snapped. "You vanished for 8 long years, Violet. Silence, no messages, no correspondence. You simply disappeared. After you told me to leave your life," Violet reminded him, her own frustration finally creeping into her tone. "Following your accusations of actions I would never consider. After you discarded me as if I held no value. You stepped outside," he responded. "You never put in the effort to save our marriage." "Struggle." Violet let out a harsh laugh. "You arranged for security to remove me from our home during the night. Our accounts have been frozen. You had your attorneys deliver divorce papers to me during my parents' funeral. What was I meant to confront Dexter about?" A brief glimmer of what might have been regret flashed across his face, only to be swiftly obscured by the familiar, icy facade she recalled from their last moments together. "What brings you here, Violet? Is that so?" Violet squared her shoulders. "For the position. Despite what you may believe, not everything revolves around you, Dexter." Just as he was about to reply, a knock echoed through the room, and the door swung open to unveil Lisa from HR, her expression tinged with regret. "I apologize for the interruption, Mr. Thorne, but—" "It's all right, Lisa," Violet said, glancing back toward the door. "Is everything all right with Archer?" "He's perfectly all right," Lisa reassured her. "He was simply curious about how much longer you would be." "I'll be right out," Violet assured. As Lisa shut the door, Violet glanced back to see Dexter looking at her with a peculiar expression. Archer, he echoed. Do you have a son? Violet held his gaze without wavering. Indeed. What is his age? 7. Dexter's jaw tightened. 7. So when did you tie the knot again? I did not. His gaze sharpened as he contemplated in silence. At the age of 7. That would imply. His complexion drained of color. Does he belong to me? The door swung open once more before Violet could respond. And this time it was Archer himself who peeked his head in. Mom, could I please have another juice box? Lisa mentioned that I need to inquire with you. Violet managed to put on a smile. Absolutely, my dear. Another one is acceptable. Yet Archer had turned his gaze away from her. His gaze was locked onto Dexter, his brow knitted in deep focus. Are you the one known as Mr. Thorne? Dexter appeared transfixed, gazing at the boy who mirrored his own striking blue eyes. Indeed, I exist. Archer entered the room with purpose, reaching out his hand as he had been instructed. My name is Archer Harlow. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Dexter instinctively extended his hand, grasping the small one with a gentle shake. It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Archer. Archer inclined his head. You resemble the man in my mother's vintage photographs. Violet sensed her heart freeze in place. Archer, why not consider returning to Lisa? I'll wrap this up shortly. Understood. Archer made his way to the door but hesitated for a moment before stepping through. Mr. Thorne, do you have an interest in space? Dexter appeared to grapple with his choice of words. Indeed, I certainly do. Me too, Archer replied, a radiant smile lighting up his face. I aspire to become an astronaut in the future. And with that, he vanished, leaving behind a profound stillness. Dexter faced Violet, his face a tempest of feelings. He belongs to me. Though it wasn't a question, Violet chose to respond regardless. Indeed, you prevented him from being with me. For a span of 7 years. 8, Violet gently corrected. I had already been expecting when I departed. Dexter's hand slammed down onto the table with force. Your actions were unjustified. I had every right, Violet retorted. Your intentions were unmistakably conveyed. You wished to distance yourself from me. He is my son. A son you were completely unaware of until just 5 minutes ago, Violet remarked. A son who has thrived and found joy without your presence in his life. Dexter appeared as if he had just been struck. Is he aware? What can I share about myself? Violet gently shook her head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. He understands that his father was absent from his life. That concludes everything. That concludes everything. Dexter's voice escalated. Is that everything? I'm not someone who just walked away from my child. Violet, I am his father, and you have kept him away from me. Did you ever wish for him? Violet took on the challenge. Had I revealed my pregnancy to you that night, would it have made a difference? Dexter parted his lips to reply, only to seal them once more. The stillness spoke volumes. Violet murmured softly, That's what I thought. She grasped her portfolio. I ought to take my leave. Hold on. Dexter's voice came out unexpectedly rough. Where will you be residing? The plaza, Violet responded. Tomorrow we return to Chicago. Is it Chicago? Dexter moved closer to her. So, you've been in Chicago this whole time? Is it significant? Violet inquired with a hint of exhaustion. Absolutely, it holds significance. Dexter swept his hand through his hair, a movement so well known that it stirred a deep ache in Violet's heart, despite her efforts to resist. You can't simply unleash this revelation and walk away from Violet. We should have a conversation. We are currently engaged in conversation. Dexter provided clarification regarding Archer. Concerning arrangements, Violet experienced a shiver creep along her spine. What type of arrangements are we discussing? Let's begin with visitation, Dexter suggested. He is my son. I possess rights. Violet highlighted rights you never realized you desired until just moments ago. That doesn't alter the truth that he belongs to me, Dexter asserted. I wish to understand him better. What occurs when boredom sets in? Violet inquired. When he disrupts the carefully curated order of your life, will you cast him aside as well? A grimace of anguish crossed Dexter's features. Is that really how you perceive me? That I would forsake my own child? You left me behind, Violet reminded him. Your spouse. That was unusual, Dexter remarked softly. You have let me down. I never betrayed you, Violet insisted, her voice trembling just a bit. Not at all. Yet, your resolve to see me in the worst light was so strong that you refused to hear me out. For a brief instant, Dexter appeared to waver. He shook his head, attempting to dispel the fog of confusion. Join me for dinner this evening. It's essential that we have a thorough discussion about this. I believe that may not be the best course of action. Kindly, Violet. In his voice, there was an unfamiliar quality that captivated her attention. A touch of fragility. Simply dinner. For the sake of Archer. Violet paused, her uncertainty evident, before giving a hesitant nod. All right, evening meal. However, Archer will not be present. I won't refer to you as his father until I have clarity on your intentions. Dexter inclined his head with a rigid gesture. That seems reasonable. 8 o'clock at Daniel's place. I will arrange for a vehicle to be sent. I can manage to get there on my own, Violet said as she moved toward the door. Violet, Dexter called after her. She hesitated, yet remained facing away. He appears to be quite an extraordinary young man. Violet permitted a faint smile to grace her lips. Indeed he is. She gently pushed the door open. He is the most incredible thing that has ever come into my life. As she strolled away, Violet sensed Dexter's gaze lingering on her back. The first stage of her strategy had been successfully executed. This evening marks the beginning of the next stage. After 8 years of meticulous planning, of rising from the ashes, of healing from the deep scars of betrayal, she was finally poised to reclaim all that the man had stolen from her. What Dexter was unaware of, what he couldn't possibly fathom, was that tonight's dinner held significance beyond just Archer. The matter concerned the papers stored in Violet's hotel safe. Files that might lead to the downfall of Thorn Industries, leaving everything in ruins. Files of immense value, or at least deserving of such a drastic consequence. Violet stood before the mirror in her hotel suite, carefully adjusting the fabric of her black dress. Uncomplicated yet refined, infused with a hint of boldness, a garment crafted for confrontation. You look beautiful, Mom, Archer said from his spot, sitting cross-legged on the bed with a space encyclopedia spread open before him. Violet beamed at the image of her son in the mirror. I appreciate it, darling. Are you dining with Mr. Thorne? Archer inquired, his gaze drifting back to the pages before him. The gentleman of the present day? Violet's hand paused. Absolutely. What led you to that conclusion? Archer simply shrugged. I overheard your conversation with Aunt Meredith on the phone. You mentioned his name. Violet resolved to tread more thoughtfully in her discussions. Archer had always possessed a keen eye, but recently he appeared to notice every detail. Mr. Thorne and I need to have a conversation about some matters at hand. Is he the one in your old photographs? The one stored in the box beneath your bed? Violet pivoted to meet her son's gaze. Have you been going through my belongings? Archer displayed a certain sheepishness, a subtle acknowledgement of his predicament. Last month, I embarked on a quest for my birthday gift. By chance, I stumbled upon the box. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Could he be my father? The inquiry lingered in the atmosphere surrounding them. Violet had always anticipated this moment, yet she had envisioned it in a different light, crafted it in another way. Why do you ask that? She deflected, perched on the edge of the bed. Archer remarked with a hint of simplicity. He has eyes like mine. When he glanced my way today, there was a look of genuine astonishment on his face, as if he had encountered a phantom. The boy's sharp mind had consistently proven to be both a gift and a hurdle. Violet let out a weary sigh. It's quite intricate, Archer. It seems you often resort to that response when faced with a question you'd rather avoid. Against her better judgment, Violet found herself laughing. "You're quite clever, aren't you?" Archer acknowledged with a solemn nod. "That's what Principal Walters believes as well." Violet extended her hand to gently caress his hair. "Mr. Thorne and I were acquainted many years back. Prior to your arrival into this world. Did you tie the knot with him?" Archer continued to push forward. Violet paused for a moment before giving a slight nod. "Indeed, we tied the knot. He is my father." This time, it wasn't a question, and Violet sensed a constriction in her chest. This was not the way it was meant to unfold. Not at this moment. Indeed, from a biological perspective, the answer is affirmative. "Why didn't you share that with me?" "Due to that." Violet grappled with finding the perfect expression. Sometimes even grown-ups err. At times, their pain inflicts wounds so deep that their presence becomes unbearable for one another. "Did he cause you pain?" Archer's voice carried a quiet intensity. Violet's thoughts raced back to that stormy evening 8 years prior. The harsh accusations, the icy rage reflected in Dexter's gaze, and the security guards leading her away from their home, leaving her with only the clothes she wore and her purse. She recalled the nights spent in her car, overwhelmed by shock and heartbreak, unable to contemplate her next destination. "Indeed," she murmured gently, "he caused me a great deal of pain." "Then I have no fondness for him," Archer stated, shutting his book with a decisive thud. "It's not as straightforward as that, Archer." Violet selected her words with great precision. "Mr. Thorne was unaware of your existence until today." Archer scowled. "What's stopping us? When he caused me pain, I chose to walk away. I never mentioned to him that I was expecting a child." "What is the reason?" A seemingly straightforward question that unfolds into a complex response. How could she convey to a 7-year-old the complex mix of pride, hurt, and fear that had influenced her choice? How could she reveal to him the evidence she had uncovered later, the corruption embedded within Thorne Industries that Dexter had either masterminded or willfully ignored? Violet admitted her fear, a sentiment that held some truth. "Worried he might not measure up as a father to you. Is that the reason we arrived here? Is it possible for him to meet me?" Violet paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. She acknowledged that, in part, but also for the sake of my craft. "And there are a few matters I must address with Mr. Thorne from our history." A sudden knock at the door broke the moment. "That must be Lisa," Violet remarked, feeling thankful for the change in focus. She had orchestrated for Lisa from HR to look after Archer tonight, a calculated decision. Lisa found herself navigating the internal systems of Thorne Industries, keeping a watchful eye on Archer. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to her, a program on Violet's laptop was stealthily duplicating files from the USB drive Lisa had inadvertently brought along. Violet swung the door wide, revealing Lisa on the other side, her smile radiant and inviting. "Hello, Ms. Harlow." "Greetings, Archer. I gathered a selection of films and video games." She raised a bag high. "I trust that's acceptable." "That's just right," Violet remarked. "I truly appreciate your willingness to step in on such short notice." "No problem at all," Lisa said as she entered the suite. "Mr. Richmond approached me directly. It seems he might be regretting the awkwardness from this morning." Violet reassured her, saying it wasn't her fault. She glanced at Archer. "Make sure to be kind to Lisa, all right? I won't take too long." "Is it all right if I stay up for you?" Archer inquired. "Not this evening, my friend. The hour has slipped by, well beyond your typical time for rest. We'll continue our conversation tomorrow, I assure you." She pressed her lips gently to the crown of his head, murmuring an affectionate "I love you" before reaching for her purse and stepping out the door. As she shut the door, she noticed Lisa arranging her laptop on the desk, positioned perfectly beside Violet's own computer, just as they had intended. The eatery was just a brief stroll from the square, and Violet intentionally made her entrance 10 minutes behind schedule. A subtle shift in dynamics, allowing Dexter to be the one to wait this time. The maitre d' guided her to an intimate dining room tucked away at the back of the restaurant, where Dexter awaited her arrival. He had donned a charcoal suit that hugged him just right, and for a fleeting moment, Violet found herself reminiscing about their first date. "You look beautiful," he said, and the genuine warmth in his voice took her by surprise. "Thank you," she said, settling into the chair that a waiter had graciously pulled out for her. "Vino." Dexter waved his hand toward a bottle of Chateau Margaux. "You remembered," Violet said, her voice laced with surprise. It had always been her favorite throughout their marriage. "I recall every detail about you, Violet," Dexter murmured as the waiter filled 2 glasses. "Regardless of your assumptions." The waiter quietly stepped back, allowing them to enjoy their solitude in the beautifully decorated room. "Where is Archer this evening?" Dexter inquired, savoring a sip of his wine. Violet responded while at the hotel with a sitter. "It's actually Lisa from the HR department." Dexter's eyebrows arched in surprise. "You have faith in my employees to care for our son, yet you don't trust me? I've been acquainted with Lisa for a full 12 hours, which is precisely 12 hours more than your familiarity with Archer." Dexter placed his glass down with careful precision. "Is that really my decision?" "Indeed," Violet concurred. "It belonged to me. A decision I reached after you discarded me as if I were worthless, fueled by falsehoods." "They weren't falsehoods, Violet." Dexter's voice took on a steely edge. "I have reviewed the emails. I noticed the transactions from our accounts to your personal one. $500,000 drained over a span of 6 months. Subsequently, the communications to Jackson regarding the rendezvous in Buenos Aires once you had managed your affairs." Violet let out a harsh laugh. "Did it ever cross your mind to inquire about it? May I have the opportunity to clarify my perspective?" "What needed clarification?" "My wife was taking from me and scheming to leave with my closest friend." "Your friend?" Violet, stressed. "I had only a fleeting acquaintance with Preston Jackson. He was your confidant from boarding school, your partner on fishing adventures. Throughout our entire marriage, I had perhaps 10 conversations with him. The emails were fraudulent." Violet interrupted him abruptly. "If only I had been granted just 5 minutes to present my case, I could have demonstrated my point clearly." Dexter gazed intently at her. "What could possibly motivate someone to fabricate emails between you and Preston?" Violet stated it plainly. "To be rid of me. To create a division between us. And it functioned splendidly, didn't it? You were so eager to assume the negative about me." A flicker of uncertainty passed over Dexter's expression. "If what you're saying holds any weight, then why not take a stand against it? What could lead someone to vanish for 8 years?" Violet savored her wine, weighing her words with precision. "When the one you cherish most in life casts you aside without a moment's hesitation, it transforms you." My heart shattered. I found myself expecting and unexpectedly broke. Engaging with you and your team of legal experts wasn't precisely at the top of my agenda. "You were expecting a child," Dexter repeated, his voice empty. "Accompanied by my little one. You never mentioned it to me. Would it have made a difference?" Violet took on the challenge. "Or would you have thought I was attempting to ensnare you? Regarding the baby not belonging to you?" Dexter recoiled. "I would never do that. Would you not?" Violet insisted. "You thought I could commit theft and betrayal without any actual proof. Why not include baby trapping in the list?" Just as Dexter was about to reply, the waiter reappeared with their appetizers, creating a brief pause in the conversation. Once they found themselves alone again, Dexter's voice emerged, soft and restrained. "Archer appears extraordinary, intelligent, perfectly balanced." She concurred, unable to hide the pride that colored her tone. "At the pinnacle of his class. Written for a 5th-grade audience. Fascinated by the cosmos and the wonders of science. Just like me," Dexter murmured gently. "As a child, I dreamed of exploring the cosmos as an astronaut." Violet acknowledged with a nod. "You mentioned it once, after our trip to Kennedy Space Center during our honeymoon." A fleeting smile graced Dexter's lips. "Do you recall that?" "I recall it all as well, Dexter." Quiet enveloped them, thick with recollections and things left unsaid. "Tonight, Violet finally revealed that he inquired about you. Archer, you've discovered a collection of vintage photographs. He inquired whether you were his father." Dexter's fork clanged against his plate. What did you say to him? The reality. Indeed, from a biological perspective, that is accurate. Biologically, Dexter reiterated, his jaw clenching, as though that's the entirety of it. At this moment, that is all it is, Violet noted. You haven't fulfilled the role of a father in any meaningful sense. Because you didn't give me the opportunity, Dexter retorted, frustration creeping back into his tone. What comes next? Violet inquired. Now that you have this knowledge about him, what is it that you desire, Dexter? Really? Dexter reclined in his chair, his face a mask of inscrutability. I wish to understand my son better. I desire for him to truly understand me. I've already missed 7 years of his life. I can't bear to miss any more. What suggestions do you have for achieving that? Our home is in Chicago. Your existence unfolds in this moment. Step back, Dexter instructed flatly. I will arrange for you to have an apartment. I will cover the costs for Archer's education. We can establish a custody arrangement. Violet let out a laugh filled with disbelief. Is it really that simple? Do you really believe I would completely change our lives just because you've chosen now to take on the role of a father? He's my son, Dexter asserted, his voice elevating just a touch. He's my son, Violet insisted. I was the one who brought him up. I was the one by his side during his illness, guiding him through the pages of books, soothing his scraped knees with gentle kisses, and banishing the shadows lurking beneath his bed. You're simply a master of genetics. The glimmer of anguish in his gaze brought a wicked delight to Violet. Excellent. Allow him to feel pain. Allow him to experience even a small part of what she had endured. I have rights, Dexter said softly. Rights under the law. Are you implying something menacing? Violet inquired, her voice laced with a perilous softness. I'm simply presenting a fact, Dexter replied. If you push me, I will take legal action. Given my resources, who do you believe will emerge victorious? A shiver coursed through Violet's body. This was the Dexter that lingered in her memory from those last moments. Chillingly precise, he brandishes his authority as if it were a blade. Would you really subject Archer to that? A struggle for custody? I don't want to, Dexter said. However, I will if it becomes necessary. Violet placed her napkin aside, an idea beginning to take shape in her thoughts. What if I decided to remain in New York for a bit? A testing phase. Why not take the time to get acquainted with Archer and explore how things unfold? Dexter appeared taken aback by her admission. You would take that action. For Archer's benefit, Violet remarked, observing him intently. Only upon your agreement to my conditions. What are they? Initially, we proceed with caution. You hold off on revealing that you're his father immediately. Establish a connection with him initially. Dexter gave a hesitant nod. That seems reasonable. What more is there? I'm looking for a job, Violet expressed. A genuine one, not a charitable act. I have invested so much effort into my career that I won't abandon it now. I'm afraid I can't bring you on board at Thorn Industries, Dexter stated without any emotion. It seems overly complex. Violet concurred, not at Thorn Industries. However, you possess valuable connections. What I seek is simply an introduction or two. Dexter observed her intently for an extended period. What about the third condition? Violet maintained her focus on him. Complete financial openness regarding Thorn Industries. If I'm thinking about linking Archer's future with your company, I must be assured of its stability. That's ridiculous, Dexter scoffed. My company stands out as one of the most successful in the nation. If that's the case, then you have nothing to hide, Violet remarked, shrugging her shoulders. These are my conditions. Dexter squinted, his gaze sharpening. What makes that seem like the true motivation for your presence? Which game are you currently immersed in, Violet? No game, Violet said with a practiced ease. Simply safeguarding my son's well-being. Are we in agreement then? Dexter paused, his suspicion evident regarding her unexpected willingness to assist. I seek joint legal custody. Ultimately, he remarked as he noticed the shift in Violet's demeanor. After Archer and I had built a connection, Violet feigned contemplation about it. Let's delve into it. Following the trial period. What is the duration? Violet proposed a timeline of 3 months. This should provide us with sufficient time to determine if this arrangement is viable. Dexter inclined his head with deliberation. Very well. 3 months have passed. He reached out his hand over the table. An agreement has been reached. Violet grasped his hand, struggling to maintain a calm facade even as waves of victory surged within her. His fingers brushed against hers with a sense of familiarity, momentarily bringing back memories of the man she had once loved, before ambition and paranoia reshaped him into a stranger she could no longer identify. To new beginnings, Dexter declared, lifting his wine glass high. To new beginnings, Violet echoed, clinking her glass against his, her mind drifting to final endings. The remainder of the meal unfolded in an odd choreography of decorum, interspersed with fleeting reminders of their once-close connection. Dexter shared with her the story of his mother's passing, which had occurred 2 years earlier. The news struck Violet with a deep sense of sorrow, for Eleanor Thorne had always shown her kindness. Violet recounted thoughtfully chosen tales from Archer's formative years, observing the blend of happiness and sorrow that flickered across Dexter's face with every milestone he had not experienced. As dessert was served, Violet noticed that Dexter was starting to let his defenses down. As he grinned at the tale of 5-year-old Archer trying to construct a rocket ship from cardboard boxes, it was a genuine smile, the sort that had previously sent her heart racing. He really reminds me of myself at that age, Dexter remarked, shaking his head in amazement. My mother often recounted tales of discovering me dozing off amidst a collection of space books and unfinished models. Violet remarked that he captures your attention as well. Once he begins a task, he perseveres until it reaches completion, no matter how long it takes. Dexter acknowledged that stubbornness is a trait deeply embedded in the Thorne lineage. After a moment of silence, I would want him to carry my name. And just like that, the fleeting warmth dissipated into the air. That's not an option at the moment, Violet stated with conviction. He belongs to the Thorne family, Violet. The one and only Thorne. The final descendant of my lineage. He's a Harlow, Violet clarified. That has been his essence throughout his existence. Because you decided to keep him from me, Dexter reminded her, his voice laced with fresh fury. We're not going through this again, Violet remarked, sliding her dessert plate aside. The past remains behind us. Let's keep our eyes on what lies ahead. Shall we? Dexter let out a slow breath, clearly working to control his anger. Indeed, you are correct. I apologize. He signaled for the bill. Could you remind me where you're staying? The plaza, correct? A car will be arranged to take you back. That's not necessary, Violet said, rising to her feet. The evening is quite pleasant. I shall take a stroll. Dexter murmured about her independence, leaving Violet uncertain whether his tone conveyed admiration or criticism. Outside the restaurant, an uncomfortable silence lingered between them. I appreciate the dinner, Violet remarked with a touch of formality. When will I be able to watch Archer? Dexter stood with his hands in his pockets, an unusual air of uncertainty about him. Violet resolved to take him to Central Park tomorrow. Beside the tranquil boat pond. Midday. Dexter acknowledged with a nod. I will be present. He paused briefly before adding, for what it's worth, Violet. Feels like ages since we last connected. The sudden revelation caught her completely off guard. After 8 years of meticulously crafting her revenge and fortifying her heart against him, for simple words loomed, threatening to shatter her unwavering resolve. Good night, Dexter, she said, turning away before he could catch a glimpse of the turmoil in her gaze. As she strolled back to the hotel, Violet's thoughts surged with intensity. A portion of her felt triumphant. All was unfolding as intended. Dexter was already providing her with what she sought. Moments in New York, entry into his realm, and soon entry into Thorne Industries itself. The financial documents her contact had alluded to would soon be accessible. Yet, a different aspect of her, one she believed had faded away, was stirred by the authentic sorrow reflected in Dexter's gaze as he recounted the years lost with his son. He had, after all, recalled her preferred wine. Through his candid acknowledgement of her absence. Might she have erred? Was there a deeper narrative behind their separation that she was unaware of? Violet dismissed the doubts with a determined shake of her head. She couldn't indulge in tenderness now, not when she was so near to achieving her ambition. Dexter Thorne had shattered her once. She refused to allow him the opportunity to repeat his actions. In her hotel room, she discovered Lisa engrossed in a magazine, while Archer lay peacefully asleep in his bed. What was he like? Violet murmured softly. An absolute dream, Lisa replied, collecting her belongings. Extremely courteous and highly intelligent. You have truly excelled with him, Miss Harlow. Thank you, Violet said as she accompanied her to the door. Thank you for being here to witness his performance this evening. Whenever you need, just let me know, Lisa replied with a bright smile. My laptop is currently processing that software update you referred to, but it should be completed by morning. Excellent, Violet remarked, struggling to maintain a composed demeanor. Sweet dreams, Lisa. Once the door clicked shut, Violet hurried to her laptop to see what awaited her. The program had succeeded. Lisa's USB drive was entirely duplicated. Tomorrow, as Dexter enjoyed a cheerful day with Archer at the park, Violet would be meticulously uncovering the secrets that Preston Jackson had concealed all these years. Preston Jackson, the eldest companion of Dexter, rumored to have been involved in a romantic liaison with Violet. The man who had vanished without a trace 3 days following Dexter's decision to cast Violet aside. A man was discovered 2 weeks later in a hotel room in Buenos Aires, an apparent suicide. Yet Violet was aware of the truth. Preston was not responsible for his own death. He was aware of far more than he should have been, just as she was at this moment. And that knowledge was destined to bring Dexter Thorne to his knees. Violet shut her laptop and strolled to the window, gazing at the shimmering New York skyline. For 8 years, vengeance had fueled her existence, her motivation to rise each day. Now that it was so close, why did it suddenly feel so sour? She cast a fleeting look at Archer, who lay in peaceful slumber, blissfully ignorant of the tempest brewing in the shadows. Was she making the correct choice? Could her quest for vengeance finally lead her to the tranquility she yearned for? Or would it merely lead to additional losses with Archer at the forefront? After 8 long years, a flicker of doubt crept into Violet's mind for the first time. In the brilliant midday sun, Central Park shimmered with life as Archer dashed forward, captivated by the tiny sailboats gracefully navigating the boat pond. Violet observed him from a bench, her heart weighed down by the revelation she had unearthed in Lisa's files the previous night. He truly has a passion for space, doesn't he? Violet recognized Dexter's voice without needing to turn around. As soon as he found his voice, she responded while he settled next to her. Dexter wore jeans and a sweater, a stark contrast to his typical corporate attire. He appeared more youthful, resembling the man she had once fallen for. Did you inform him that I would be present? He inquired, his gaze fixed on Archer with keen interest. Absolutely. He is aware that we are getting together with a friend of mine. Violet paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. Dexter, before we head over there, there's something I need to discuss with you. What is it exactly? Violet inhaled deeply. I discovered something in the files I retrieved from Lisa's USB drive. Dexter tensed up. Excuse me, what did you say? Preston didn't take his own life, did he? Violet inquired softly. Dexter's complexion faded to a ghostly hue. What are you referring to? I possess the emails, Dexter. The genuine ones, not the imitations someone forwarded to you. Preston unearthed a revelation within Thorne Industries' South American division. Unlawful extraction activities, breaches of environmental regulations, and corrupt payments to officials. Violet observed his expression intently. He was definitely going to blow the whistle, wasn't he? That's the reason he reached out to me. Dexter rose suddenly. This is utterly ridiculous. If you are attempting to coerce me, Violet interjected. I'm not. I seek to grasp the true events that unfolded. On the very day you cast me aside, Preston reached out to me with this. She raised her phone, revealing an email she had concealed for 8 long years. He was cautioning me, Dexter. He sensed that someone was orchestrating a scheme to make me the scapegoat. Dexter grasped the phone, his hands quivering ever so slightly as he absorbed the words on the screen. Become the lens through which someone sees the world. Be wary of everyone, even D. Tomorrow I have a meeting scheduled with the whistleblower. We'll reach out when it's secure. Eliminate this. Exist. He never called, Violet murmured gently. 3 days later, he was discovered in Buenos Aires. And I found myself alone, carrying a life within me, yet feeling empty. Dexter slumped onto the bench, his face pale and drained of color. I did not. I have never. What do you mean by never? Absolutely not? Or perhaps it was never ordered. Violet's voice was unyielding. I would never have hurt Preston, Dexter said, his voice thick with emotion. He felt like family to me. So, who was it then? Dexter raked his fingers through his hair. It must have been Malcolm, my commanding officer from that time. Violet remembered your mother's cousin, the individual who essentially took on the role of your guardian following your father's passing. Absolutely. He was overseeing our operations in South America. If Preston discovered something. Dexter gazed at her, anguish reflected in his eyes. Violet, you must trust me. I was unaware. But you thought I had betrayed you, Violet said, the pain still fresh. You thought I was taking from you, betraying you with your closest companion. You discarded me without a moment's hesitation. I was presented with evidence, Dexter said faintly. Violet clarified that you were presented only with what Malcolm intended for you to observe. What was more comforting to accept than the reality that the person who nurtured you and whom you relied upon for your business was deceitful? Archer's laughter echoed over the pond, capturing their attention. He had successfully propelled one of the boats forward with an impressive shove. How will you utilize this information? Dexter inquired softly. Violet pondered that very question throughout the night. Her initial strategy was well defined. Uncover the deceit within Thorn Industries, tarnish Dexter's name, and reclaim all that he had unjustly taken from her. After 8 years of dedication, she was finally on the brink of achieving her dream. Yet, as she observed Archer's elation and Dexter's authentic astonishment and sorrow, she felt her resolve begin to falter. I'm not sure, she confessed. A part of me still yearns to reduce your universe to ashes. I can't hold it against you, Dexter murmured gently. I let you down, Violet. Let us down. His confession took her by surprise. The Dexter she remembered would never have taken responsibility so easily. Mother, observe. Archer beckoned, his enthusiasm palpable as he waved with fervor. May I present my boat to Mr. Thorne? Violet paused for a moment before giving a slight nod. Proceed. Dexter remained still as Archer drew near, a cautious smile playing on his lips. Greetings, Archer. What an impressive vessel you have. It's the quickest one, Archer proclaimed with pride. I realized that it's essential to position it perfectly in relation to the wind. Clever thinking, Dexter remarked, bending down to meet Archer's gaze. Back in my day, I raced boats right in this very spot as well. Is that so? Archer's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Have you emerged victorious? At times, Dexter confessed. Yet there was this one kid, Tommy Brennan, who always managed to come out on top against me. What actions did you take? Dexter shared how he observed the method of launching the boat, analyzed the technique, and then dedicated himself to practice until he improved even further. Archer acknowledged with a solemn nod. That's what my mother always says. Engaging in consistent practice and keen observation enhances your skills in any endeavor. Your mother possesses great wisdom, Dexter remarked, looking up at Violet with a hint of admiration in his gaze. Care to give it a shot? Archer inquired, extending an offer of his boat to Dexter. The modest act, this slight offering of faith, appeared to engulf Dexter. He took a deep breath before responding. I'd be honored. Violet observed them making their way to the pond's edge, Dexter hanging on every word as Archer detailed his launching technique. A sensation constricted within her chest. Not quite pain, but rather a poignant longing for the possibilities that had slipped away. For an hour, she sat on the bench, watching them as they raced boats, shared laughter, and engaged in lively discussions about space, science, and baseball. Archer, typically cautious around unfamiliar faces, appeared inexplicably attracted to Dexter, evoking a mix of warmth and unease in Violet. It felt as though a fragment of his being acknowledged his father, even though they had never crossed paths. Upon their return to the bench, Archer's cheeks glowed with exhilaration. "Mom, Mr. Thorne is also acquainted with Captain Nova. He possesses every comic, including the elusive ones. Is that really the case?" Violet responded, arching an eyebrow at Dexter. "There are certain things you just never outgrow," Dexter remarked, a self-deprecating smile playing on his lips. "Archer, may I have a moment to speak with your mom privately?" Archer glanced back and forth, his insight sharpening in that moment. "Is it concerning adult matters?" "Indeed," Violet has confirmed. "Why not check if you can surpass your record for the quickest crossing?" As soon as Archer was no longer within hearing distance, Dexter faced Violet, his demeanor serious. "I must correct this, Violet." "In what way?" Violet inquired. "The past 8 years are irreversible," Dexter conceded. "However, I am willing to accept accountability for the events that transpired. Regarding Malcolm's actions taken on my behalf with my company, are you really willing to gamble with Thorne Industries?" Violet harbored doubts. "Your whole legacy? What kind of legacy are we talking about?" Dexter inquired with a sharp edge to his voice. "Is this a business founded on deceit? A wealth tainted by violence? What sort of precedent would that establish for Archer?" Violet examined him closely, looking for any signs of dishonesty but discovering nothing but determination. "What precisely are you proposing?" "Assist me," Dexter stated plainly. "Assist me in organizing my business. We will reveal the truth about Malcolm, rectify any wrongs caused by our actions, and overhaul our entire approach if necessary." He took a moment to gather his thoughts. "I refuse to lose my son again, Violet. I refuse to be the one who allows this to occur any longer. What makes you trustworthy?" Violet took on the challenge. "Following all that has transpired?" "As you are aware," Dexter responded. "The authentic version of myself, not the person I transformed into when I allowed fear and desire for success to obscure my clarity." He cautiously extended his hand toward hers. "It seems that a part of you still holds some concern, or else we wouldn't be engaged in this dialogue. You would have immediately taken your findings to the media." Violet kept her hand right where it was. "I arrived here seeking justice, Dexter. Then assist me in getting it delivered," he implored. "The correct approach. Not a retribution that inflicts pain on all, including Archer, but a form of justice that has the potential to mend some of the scars." Just as Violet was about to reply, her phone suddenly rang. As she gazed at the screen, a frown creased her brow. "This is Lisa from the HR department." "How peculiar," she responded, and a chill coursed through her at Lisa's desperate tone. "I sincerely apologize, Miss Harlow. I'm not sure how it occurred, but someone gained remote access to my computer last night. Every one of my files was accessible, including the personnel files for the executive team. It seems that everything has been erased. IT suggests that it appears to be a deliberate attack." Violet's gaze darted toward Dexter. "Did anyone inquire about those particular files?" "That's the thing," Lisa remarked, her voice trembling. "Just yesterday, Mr. Richmond inquired about the old files belonging to Malcolm Thorne. He mentioned that he had to look over something from 5 years back." "Elliot Richmond?" Dexter inquired, having caught wind of the conversation. "Who is in charge of acquisitions?" Violet's thoughts surged with intensity. "Lisa, could you tell me where Elliot is at the moment?" "That's the reason I reached out," Lisa mentioned. "He has just emptied his office. Security reported that he departed in a rush approximately 20 minutes ago." Dexter had already risen to his feet. He referred to him as Malcolm's protege, his tone heavy with seriousness. They have always shared a strong bond. A dreadful understanding settled upon Violet. If he realizes we're onto them, They both glanced around for Archer, but the area by the pond where he had been playing was deserted. Archer. Violet's voice trembled as she called out, a wave of panic swelling within her. Archer. Dexter sprinted forward, his eyes darting across the surroundings. Security, he commanded into his phone. I require a team at the Central Park boat pond immediately. My son is unaccounted for. Violet dashed around the pond, shouting for Archer, her heart pounding in her chest. This was unimaginable. Not when they were on the brink of uncovering the truth. Here it is. Dexter gestured toward a silhouette clad in a dark coat, hastening toward the park's exit with a small, wriggling figure at his side. Archer. Violet let out a piercing scream. The man glanced over his shoulder, Elliot Richmond, and hastened his steps, pulling Archer along with him. Dexter dashed after them, quicker than Violet had ever witnessed him move. She raced forward, her lungs aflame, fear propelling her with an unexpected swiftness. Elliot approached the black SUV parked at the curb and pulled the door open with a swift motion. Just as he was about to shove Archer through the door, Dexter lunged at him from behind. They tumbled onto the pavement, Archer breaking loose and sprinting toward Violet's welcoming embrace. Mother, he wept as she held him close. Dexter had Elliot pinned, his expression twisted in fury. Were you planning to take my son? Elliot spat out Malcolm's orders. Coverage. If you and your former spouse happen to edge too near the reality. Police sirens echoed in the distance as Dexter pulled Elliot to his feet, maintaining a tight hold on his collar. The truth has already been revealed, he snarled. It's over between you and Malcolm. 3 months later, Violet lingered in the doorway of Archer's new bedroom, observing as Dexter assisted him in suspending a model of the solar system from the ceiling. Their laughter echoed through the space, igniting a spark in Violet that had long been extinguished. Malcolm Thorne found himself in federal custody, alongside Elliot Richmond and 3 other executives entangled in the corruption scandal. Dexter fulfilled his commitment. He approached the authorities directly, handed over all the information they possessed, and fully engaged with the investigation. Thorne Industries faced challenges, yet with Dexter's openness and dedication to change, the company was gradually restoring its standing. Excellent, Dexter announced as they completed the arrangement of the final planet. What are your thoughts, Chief Engineer? It's fantastic, Archer declared. Thank you, Dad. The words still coursed through Violet like a sudden shock. Archer began referring to Dexter as Dad only a few weeks back, after they had finally clarified everything to him. A straightforward account of their past that recognized the errors made by both adults, while sparing him from the more troubling aspects. Dexter locked eyes with Violet over Archer's head, his expression brimming with appreciation. Dinner is nearly prepared, she remarked. Clean yourselves up, cosmic adventurers. In the kitchen of the brownstone they had bought together, not as a reunited couple, but as co-parents dedicated to providing Archer with stability, Violet stirred the pasta sauce and pondered how drastically her life had changed from what she had envisioned just 3 months prior. She realized that revenge was a toxic force that threatened to ruin not only Dexter but also herself and perhaps Archer as well. Justice, in contrast, had unveiled a route to healing that none had imagined could exist. He's really finding his place, Dexter remarked as he walked into the kitchen. It seems he appreciates the stability of having roots after all that time spent moving about. I believe he enjoys having both of us, Violet responded. It's hard to tell who's more thrilled about constructing that rocket model this weekend, you or him. Dexter beamed, the look appearing far more often now than when she had initially come back to New York. Without a doubt, it was him, he confessed. Thank you, Violet, for providing me with this opportunity alongside him. Together with both of you. We haven't arrived just yet, Violet warned. Their connection was intricate, navigating the roles of friends and co-parents, yet the scars of romance ran too deep for a simple mending. However, we are heading in the correct direction. That's all I can hope for, Dexter remarked. After a moment of pause, he continued, the foundation is progressing with the environmental restoration project in Brazil. The communities impacted by our mining activities will receive the support they require. Violet nodded, truly taken aback by Dexter's ability to redirect his efforts towards making things right. She spoke softly. Preston would be proud. Dexter nodded in agreement, feeling the same way. Every day, I feel his absence deeply. I ought to have had faith in him. I should have had faith in you. We cannot alter what has already occurred, Violet remarked, the fury that had driven her for so long now a mere echo. However, there are lessons to be gleaned from it. She passed him the plates for setting the table. Together, we can create something extraordinary for Archer. During dinner, they eagerly absorbed Archer's enthusiastic account of his new school, his fresh friendships, and his intriguing science project on black holes. At times, the effortless family dynamic seemed almost dreamlike to Violet, as if she could stir from a slumber at any instant. Yet it was no mere fantasy. It was an unexpected second chance for them all. Opportunity arising not from vengeance, but from the courageous and difficult decision to pursue truth and restoration instead. Once Archer had drifted off to sleep, Violet found herself on the balcony, gazing out at the quaint garden nestled behind their brownstone. Dexter approached her, presenting a glass of wine, Chateau Margaux, their cherished classic. To new beginnings, he proclaimed, resonating with the toast from that memorable dinner 3 months prior. Yet this time, the words radiated hope rather than concealed motives. To new beginnings, Violet said, clinking her glass against his. In the stillness of the evening, as the stars began to twinkle in the vast expanse above, Violet pondered the path that had led them to this moment. She arrived in New York with a burning desire for retribution, believing it would mend the scars of treachery. Instead, she discovered something far more profound, the strength to forgive not only Dexter but also herself. While revenge may have provided a fleeting sense of satisfaction for her anger, it ultimately would have rendered all three of them empty inside. The essence of truth, the pursuit of justice, and the gradual, careful process of restoring trust provided them with something that revenge could never offer. A future that inspires hope and purpose. Archer was cherished by two parents who adored him deeply. Dexter was reclaiming his company and his legacy. At last, Violet had put to rest the resentment that had weighed heavily on her for 8 long years. It was far from flawless. There remained challenging days, tough discussions, and instances when the echoes of the past emerged without warning. Yet they confronted them side by side now, embracing truth rather than deception, and showing kindness instead of harshness. Ultimately, that became the most profound form of retribution. It wasn't about vanquishing her foe, but rather about bringing forth a life so exquisite that it surpassed anything she could have envisioned during her bleakest moments.